outside vendors, contracts, owners, whatever, to have adequate time to prepare to get the information to do that. And regarding Brian's statement around economic development, that's only when you have new development and growth that's coming into. Outside of that, yes, the board can at any point, if there's something financial impacts, that it comes back to the finance committee for its input as a third eye to get you the information. I can say since January that John, Adam, Brian, the front office staff, myself and Adam have worked diligently as Adam primary focus was getting us caught up in audit that he has completed for fiscal year 22. So you have to keep in mind we're in 2024. So I spent the last 3 months in doing the organization regarding 22 fiscal year. So we are making strides, but keep it in mind of having part-time staff that's doing the work. Full-time staff that has gone unattended for more than 18 months. So we are in a good place to be able, Adam and Brian has begun conversations around preparing for the budget to begin those initial conversations with the department head around getting that information. We are able and have posted for the fiscal year. As you know, today is the end of the fiscal year, so we would not have any information because you don't have to close the books. And it takes about 2 weeks or so to get all the postings for your revenues and receivables to come in to post those. But we are in a place where we can run actual revenues versus expenses to get something, and send in Adam's regards that he couldn't make it because of scheduling conflicts, and he was prepared to come to the meeting that was scheduled on the 4th. So we have made headways and do anticipate being able to get you numbers of dotted lines of carrying forward. But, you know, I certainly understand the frustration as sitting on the other side of both sides and trying to get information. But I feel a lot more comfortable being a part of the process to actually get the information. And the first order was to actually bring some organization to the finance department to be able to quickly retrieve information so that we are prepared for the fiscal year 2022. So I have to keep emphasizing that. So I have been able to submit the trial balance to quickly the auditing firm, and so now it's about pulling supporting documentation for them to do going back and forth. So things that are beginning to speed up regarding getting information to those that are in need of the information. And so we're hoping that whatever hiccups that we learn during that process, that it will in fact help us to expedite moving quickly to fiscal year 23 audit, so that perhaps then we can also then be prepared to start with fiscal year 24. And so I think like my role as assistant Brian in being able to get other critical information to Adam and John actually to take up some of that slack. So we are moving forward, and so I'm confident that we'll be able to get you, if nothing else, a revenue versus expenditures, the bottom line. Okay.
Thank you so much for asking that question, because I've attended a few of the board meetings, and there's some ones that are online, and specifically, you know, when you hire, like with the fire department, we didn't hear anything about that as late last minute. With a new expense or new expenditure that wasn't included in the budget, and I asked the question before, how do we make these kind of decisions when we don't have actuals, when we start in the budget? In addition, I just found out that we had a special board meeting with a $5 million levy that was passed. And of course, the finance committee knew nothing about this. So when we have a last minute type of decision making that goes on, I would think that a levy, any kind of a levy, in fact, on a levy, the residents of the village should know that there is an intent to have an increase in the levy or even creating a levy.
I'm sorry for interrupting you. There wasn't in the last board meeting a levy pass per se. That levy is different than a levy, L-E-V-Y. It was a L-E-V-E, which is a part of the Aquila Park District, the flooding area. That's so that was a project that has gone on for about 5 years. That they had a grant of $383,000 to that, and so that was not a levy with regards to tax books.
So with that said, so we know that we're supposed to have this $300,000 from the flooding plan and all that. And so all of a sudden now we're talking about $5 million expense. And what is that about? Because since it was a special meeting, I didn't know anything about that, sure. But it wasn't, because I was at the meeting prior to that, and there was no discussion of that.
But I just wanted to point out.
Right, that was the one that the mayor announced at the last board meeting. It was gonna be on Monday, and then it was decided to be held on Friday.
I mean, I was at the last village meeting, and there was no discussion of a special request or requirement for a $5 million.
Right, that's when he announced, and he probably didn't go into detail about it. He announced that there was gonna be a special meeting that was gonna be held on Monday.
Maybe it was the beginning of the meeting or something, I don't remember that. But I just thought that having $5 million, what are we doing over there? So the trustees got the information on Monday and made a $5 million decision, but that's, what kind of decision making, or what kind of a review the trustees and the board able to make that kind of a decision overnight? The $5 million, that's I just don't understand what was the process in reviewing that and approving it in one night.
Right, I mean, I can give you the process, or if Trustee Lynch or Trustee Rowe wants to speak to it in terms of giving them the opportunity to have any questions they have answered, as well as the funding mechanism was identified, as well as Dave going into the situation in terms of the $3 million grant.
So I received the packet, or should I say, I received the packet Friday. I wasn't at the special board meeting. I'm sorry. I received the packet Friday evening. I wasn't at the special board meeting. And so I prior to that, I remember there being some mention during the board meeting of potentially having a special board meeting, but there were no details or specifics surrounding that. So I wasn't involved in the conversation process that happened Monday or Tuesday that the board meeting was, so I couldn't tell you what that looked like, how it was surrounded, or what happened.
So you saw it happen on Friday, and you were supposed to make a decision that found $5 million. What is it for?
Actually, I'm sorry, that meeting was Friday.
It was Friday.
The special meeting was Friday. We got it back in Thursday.
Oh,
so overnight.
$5 million decision in one night.
It almost seems like it was secreted, and I think, I'll speak for myself, and perhaps the rest of the committee members, we don't get information. You can only get information and review that information if you have it in a timely manner. And so skipping meetings or missing meetings, I don't understand how a village operates with a budget or no budget, what they're going to spend on a monthly basis, and have no discussion on it. I was told on the same day that the special meeting was taking place, there's a meeting. I had no idea, and obviously none of my counterparts had any idea. When you're about to spend the citizens' money, wouldn't you think you want to take that and have finance of somebody else take a look at that?
It was a decision of the mayor's to have we had the, Carolyn, correct me if I'm wrong, but the bid opening for the project was on Wednesday. Engineering firm went through it on Thursday. The mayor put it on the agenda for Friday instead of Monday, but I will make them aware of the concerns.
So what was the project?
It's sewer, I'm sorry, sewer water.
But what is actually being done? Because I know that there's been a lot of checks that have been issued about some engineering recently.
Right.
And, you know, really without any detail as to what they're doing. And, you know, the park has been, you know, like this for quite a while. So we actually haven't had any water over there since we cleared out the houses.
It would probably be helpful if we just send you all the packet and then you'll be able to see what was in there.
So can you tell us what is being done?
Basically, that's gonna be the construction of the levee that's gonna go in over there to stop any possible flooding. That's gonna be, the change in the roadway is gonna be, done within that. That's gonna then address what happens with the ball fields, it's gonna address what happens with the, this is probably important to you in terms of the storage facility concession, the storage facility for baseball, so all of that goes into this. These are the things that Robinson has been working on, just like Treasurer Hart said for the past 4 or 5 years, if not a little more.
I've never heard $5 million. So the mayor has given
That
that.
were, board voted not was for $3 million, but the bid came in at a little over $5 million, and so that was that conversation, for, you know, at that board's discretion, if they, in fact, yeah.
So part of the driving force behind it is that there is a grant for $3.8 million towards the 5 year. So that was the driving force behind it for us to utilize the grant fund. So if we didn't do the project, we would lose the $3.8 million towards the funding of the project. And then we would be responsible for the $5 million project. So the balance of the money is to come from sewer and water fund, if that makes sense.
So where did the additional $1.2 million come from?
From sewer and water fund.
No, all of that can't come from sewer and water. Right, all of that can't come from sewer and water. You can't, there's $1.9 million in sewer and water, and you can't deplete the sewer and water fund. What I would recommend, decision is that, the finance committee just request a copy of the board approved, budget, that decision of where those funds would come from, where those funds would come from, that, how it is laid out of what those expenses were. When I inquired, Robinson Engineer is working to use some of the soil that the village owned to decrease, that amount. But I think like roughly $720,000 to be able to do that. So it was, some estimations, but Robinson Engineer would not be in the position to do the budget around the project. Their responsibility is to bid work and to complete the work. So, the board approved, that based on, financial information that was presented to them. So we wanted to have a better sense as opposed to speculating. I would recommend that you request, a copy of that budget that was approved, so that then you can in fact see what is the, thought process behind where those funds would come from. But I just wanted to correct so that, it's not, miscommunication that that $2 million would come from sewer water, at the time of the approval could not absorb that type of amount.
So the mayor usually comes to the homeowners meeting and talks about the project over there, which is right adjacent to where we meet. And we haven't heard that type of a dollar amount for the last couple of years. We were hoping for at least a playground, which we have been kind of talking around. But certainly, I'm glad that there's a project with $5 million. So, no one knew about the grant until the last minute, until the Friday before it was going to expire, or?
I didn't know it was in the packet.
Pardon?
I didn't know until I got it.
So, but somebody should know that there was a grant that was available, and from what I understand, it was expiring at the last minute, so you had to act with us because you couldn't take advantage of it. In a timely manner, you would lose it if you have to do it. So this is why they did the last minute, because it's expiring. The options you take advantage of is expiring without the last second.
I don't think that was the reason. It was something else.
So the main thing was that it was coming from
I can't hear you.
agreement, I'm sorry. We had the MWRD agreement, which was providing the 3.4. And so, in an effort to make sure that we did not lose that, we did have to have that meeting. So, like I said, I'm pulling the packet up now, I'll send the packet out, which will give you more information in detail, but hopefully that will answer some of your questions.
I think we'll, Brian, if you would include in that budget proposals to, in an effort to decrease that amount for Robinson Engineer, because later, I am so sorry, my apologies, that,
Well, today we're working on.
right, that, when I asked the question around where the funds would come from, his response, I think might be helpful.
I'll include all of it.
And, Ms. Watt, around your other question regarding the playground, in the fiscal year 24 budget that, we received from the previous, public works director, proposal amount of what that cost would be, and we put those aside for, capital expenses to see if it can be rolled into fiscal year 25. So once we do the draft budget, it would be up to the board at that point to make a decision based on funds available, plus we will have to roll over expenditures that were approved, during the fiscal year that wasn't budgeted in emergency expenses, etc. If that makes sense. I was gonna say.
I'm sorry. Because I wasn't here, I wanted to just understand. So
If Engineer Shilling is able to offset some of that cost by using the village's soil to the tune of that $700,000, let's just say we were able to get that amount of loan, what would the difference be that we have to roll over to the next fiscal year?
And I don't see any reason why he would not, if the village, we actually have the soil and that cost. He also put in there, he put in there other conversations, negotiations around other cost areas, bringing it down. If he's able to do that within those budget items, you would have sufficient funds in the sewer water that would not delete it, but it was initially saying that the balance of that there was sufficient money in the water and sewer to absorb an additional $2 million, and so I sent a video.
So he's able to utilize that soil at the rate that he had provided, then we should not expect to have to, one, exhaust the sewer and water fund, and two, have to worry about dollars rolling over.
Correct.
So, Brian, what would keep him from being able to get soil at that price?
Just keep them from doing what?
To keep him from getting the price, the soil at that price.
We have.
Well, they say that, or they just got to test the soil, so we're trying to.
So that's the only thing. Oh, all right.
The other thing is, keep in mind, it will not be due outside of the MWR grant. That money is not due until the completion of the project. So there is still a lapse of time that's left. It's not like we sign this now and then we gotta go and say, okay, where's the consumer water right now today?
No, I remember that portion of the contract, but I guess for me, even with the time that's granted for it to roll over, that would still mean that expenses from this current year will roll over to the next. And I guess just for me, I just want to know how, even if it rolls over, how will we pay for it? Because if we do exhaust the sewer and water fund, and we're not, and the projected revenue from that soil, that $700,000 doesn't pan out, then how will we pay for it then?
Then we'd be looking at either if there's anything left from the ARPA that qualifies or anything out of corporate.
Corporate?
That would have to come from the road, because you couldn't use it for our funds, so it would have to be corporate, but I don't see, any reason, the first part of clarification, when you said roll over, it wouldn't roll over. It's a board expenditure that was approved in fiscal year 24, but all the expenditures, because you would actually do it with fiscal year 25. So when you get the first draft of the budget I'm looking at, that it would be important that you're looking at those big ticket items that you have to expense, because I continue to remind the board
I'm glad you
that you
mentioned
have pending obligations
and
and
that was going to
everything.
be my second request rather. Let me ask three purposes first. I know I asked you previously for a tip for us. So we could potentially have it at the first board meeting in May.
Next week.
Yeah, that's what you told me.
No, I'm all serious. No, I can see that. I can get you something. I can get you something. I can go on the Cook County
And
website.
then as we are preparing the budget, getting in position to prepare, will we also have a report of what expenses are going to roll over into fiscal year 25?
That is just like a part of the budget within itself, because every line item we didn't spend. So let's say you had $10 and you purchased the lights and you would still have some of those line
Well,
items.
I mean, more so specific, these large ticket items.
You'll see it in your line item budget. And if it's a capital expense, you'll see a separate report that says capital expenses, like your fire truck, the emergency vehicle that the police purchased because of fire. Those are big ticket items that you'll see.
Well, that was just my next question, because and I didn't want to send all the emails back and forth, was just to try to figure out what guarantees we had with getting that soil at that amount, but considering that it's ours.
Yes, it's the soil. So you have the soil.
So that was, thank you.
So, one of the last conversations that I had with the board was the deficit. Several months ago, we said we could have possibly a $20,000, $12,000 surplus in the middle of that because of the unconfirmed revenues that were on the budget that we last saw the last budget. I mean, the board should not look at a budget one time and think that that's sufficient to think that we know where we are. I mean, most organizations, municipalities, whatever, look at the budget several times a year. This committee has seen it once. We've had a review of it one time, so we have absolutely no idea where we are as a village. And so we talked about having, a considerable deficit for the year, and the answer was, well, we'll take it out of the corporate fund. And I don't take this lightly, but Johnny, how many years can a organization continue to take money out of the corporate fund and run a deficit every single year? It doesn't take much, many years. You can't survive like that. So I would assume that with this $5 million decision that was made, we're probably going to see an increase on our water bill. Because the water bill can sustain itself at this point. You have to keep money in there because of the problems that we've seen so far with all of the water being breaks and this, that, and the other. And so, if you're going to deplete the fund, if we're going to continue, we know we will continue to have unfortunate situations with the water being breaks. How are we going to fund that if there's no money in the fund? What's the
Let's
plan?
say that, the board cannot deplete, your major funds. So the board could, if you had, a bottom line of $1.9 million, they couldn't take the whole $1.9 million and make it a zero balance.
So, understand our corporate fund, and
Right,
like,
so that,
but I mean, how much money do we have in the corporate fund? What do we have in the corporate fund? We have an endless amount of expenses that come out of the corporate fund. I mean, what's in the corporate fund?
well, I think that, again, that it would, make sense, that you're looking at, end of fiscal year, the actual revenues versus the, expenditures, and then give you like a snapshot, right? Because, you haven't finalized and closing out that period, so you know that stuff is continuing to come in, but at least you'll have a better sense of a gauge of what you actually spent, and what you actually have, because you still have like income that's coming in, so you still have income that's coming in.
So we should anticipate a rate increase on our water. We should anticipate that increase.
There has been, up to this point, there's been no discussion about that. I don't know what that means, but I mean, there hasn't been any discussion. If you want to decide to discuss something, you may discuss it. So there has not been any discussion as to date about any increase in the water bill.
But I think that, like anything else, if Chicago Heights increased their water rates, that rate get passed along, to the residents, but, I'm not aware as the treasurer. It doesn't mean that it's so or not so, I'm just saying, I'm not aware of that, but I do know that they increased their rates, so that's,
But as Ms. Connie mentioned before, we have to figure out what is our role, because these decisions are made, we have, organizations outside of, what we do here. Any decision making that we have are either recommendations, people take loans, they don't pay them back, they extend that opportunity, they don't pay it back. You know, $5 million decisions are made overnight. I guess we do that kind of stuff.
Well, it's almost the point, what the hell are we doing up here? And, I mean, I try to stay really quiet, just listen, that's very, very difficult to do. If we're consistently not getting information, we don't have anything to look at, we can't assist, we cannot make recommendations, and it's been far too long to continue to kick the can down the road. I mean, Brian, you told me it was a bingo game, I'm like, what the hell, bingo?
That's what the owner told me. I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm not coming to his rescue. I'm just telling you what he told me when I put the request in from you.
Absolutely. You know, when we look at, when we're speaking of Chester Gardens, you know, the person has to pay his taxes, things of this nature, and we're extending loans and we're extending whatever options we have. When are you going to run out of money? We haven't seen an updated budget. Where is the money? If $1 is spent in a month, where did that dollar come from? Where did that dollar go? This committee has no idea. And I look to you because you are the village administrator. You can disseminate that information, or you can, allocate to whoever you need to allocate it to. But if we're not getting information, we're a moot point sitting here and it's wasting our time.
Right, and I think we've said it a couple of times. We can understand the frustration. But right now, with the part-time staff we have, and I'm saying consultants coming in, there's other things that have to take place during the course of the day. And that is where we have an issue, which is why we'll give you an update in terms of where we are with hiring. I can't create these reports until
I mean, we continue to kick the can down the road and continue to kick the can down the road, and nothing appears to get resolved. Now, I don't know how difficult it would be to say from the mayor or from yourself, by the way, Finance Committee, on this particular date, we have a special meeting to discuss X. Even if you can't make it, send the information to us. We may have questions that maybe you guys didn't see. It appears that none of us up here even knew it was taking place. And this is what we're getting.
So I would suggest that perhaps you and the mayor have a meeting and kind of clear air on some of these things that you have concerns on and that the committee has concerns on. And I think that would put us, back on the direction that maybe you all want to go.
And if I can add to that, Mrs. Slaughter, that your initial comment around getting back on track regarding the finance committee meetings, I think if you do an email with a list of those questions, that I know that the contractual staff is working diligently to get caught up to a point where we're just not throwing numbers out there to you, but they're actually numbers, and that I don't ever each board meeting as I resume the treasurer's position, I send an email to the board with recommendations regarding expenditures and where we're at and what the fund is, and keeping them on track of what they've spent prior and what those obligations are. So around those finances, so like I said, and get RDA agreements with the finance committee. When I say that it's driven by you and that committee, that's a broad statement, but you can request a review of service contracts or the RDA agreements, and or that you looking on anyone who get the PIN number and look at the business taxes to see if they're current or not, or a question to the village administrator that he can then send to the finance team regarding what is the percentage of the property taxes that has been received by a certain date, or what is the percentage of, the collections we make, because that is information that we get from that is information that we get directly from either the bank statement or from the county.
We should be receiving that information regardless. Would you agree?
I'm sorry?
We should be receiving that information monthly regardless. Would you agree with that?
I agree. I do agree that on a monthly basis that you should receive information around that monthly status of where you're at, and I believe I initially said get us to June. I think one of the board members asked how soon would it take in prioritizing, so I had to actually get in the seat to begin the work to see how much it was going to take, but I am, still that we are making headways, and so was that practice versus practicality? It's two different things, so it's easy as to Trustee Lynch point out, you said she was going to get the TIF summary, right, to that versus trying to ensure that you stay on tax with the audits, and that you are. So to be able to have to come in where we're thinking 2024, and I keep placing an emphasis on that, we just closed out 2022. And so we were just able to get those reconciliations up, and then things that it may seem minute or to do that, but with all of the other daily functions with the village administrator, we stopped and having to pull 24 months of bank statements that we wouldn't have access to because they're not on the actual bank statement. So those tasks that it doesn't seem like it's a lot, I've been able to take off of his plate to help us to move forward, and I think that the process is moving forward. to be able to have to come in and to file 2 years worth of documents to go. It's nonsense. It's not an easy task.
I applaud you for the work that you do. I really do. It's got to be an immensely challenging task. But when we're sitting on this side of the table, and we look at our own households or any other business that operates, their accounts and receivables and things of this nature come and go every week, every month. My assumption, and I think that most of the committee folks sitting here, assumption was that we were going to have at least that information, and then you're working on the bigger things or things that take up a little bit more time. The reason that we haven't had any meetings in the last couple of months is because Brian stated that there's no information that has been updated. Well, are we talking about the large projects that we have with no information or no new information, or just the monthly budgets? Because I know from a credit report standpoint, we can tend to look at credits or see things coming and going, whether bills were paid or not paid, to come to an assumption at the end of the month or the end of the quarter, whether this is a red flag coming up in the next few months during the next quarter. We don't even get that. So again, I look at this committee almost as a moot point if we're not receiving information. Now, you say that you are working on 2022.
Adam was able to finish 2022. Don't quote me, but I did like last week, so I won't say that.
So how can we not multitask and do more than one thing? I know you stated that you're understaffed. Well, bills still have to get paid. Someone's cutting checks on a monthly or weekly basis. We're not seeing that. These projects are coming about. We have no idea that they're even there. And we're spending or bringing in money. We don't know because we don't have the information.
By chance, did you look at the board packet when it gets posted on the website? Because within that packet, once a month, the board gets all the bank balances, as well within that packet are all the bills that are being paid.
I'm talking about the information that's coming to us specifically. We're not getting that. We haven't gotten, as far as I know, we haven't gotten anything.
But, and I do think that it's important, but I want you to also understand that we are multitasking. And so in the accounting world, which you're familiar with, there's processes, right? So you have to reconcile and balance. So if you don't have one particular fund that ties out, you can't just move to the next one. You have to go down this rabbit hole, right, to find it. And so bringing some organization to the department was key. And between Brian and John and Ashley, myself and Adam, and the front desk, we work diligently, right? I know they hate to see me come in on Friday, but I'm coming. And being able to do that, because if you can't find the supporting documentation, then you can't move to the next step. So that was very important, being able to do that, being able to at least get some line of reason to be able to get that. And so I make no excuses, and that when even if you have a consultant staff or temp staff, that's what we're here for, we're paid to get the work done. And I think that just having these conversations to be able to get a sense of understanding, because I also understand that communication is important. When you don't have information, then you tend to plug in, to plug it in. And so I do believe in being transparent. And as I've always said, it's not the worst thing if the village has a deficit. The worst thing is not having a plan to get out of the deficit. And so that again, as we move to the June Finance Committee meeting, if you're sending a list of that things that I have control over and contribute to, I will. And so that is a part of my responsibility, is to assist the village administration and ensuring that you have financial information to be able to work with. And so, I was in it one weekend to ensure that, you can at least have a closeout numbers to be able to do that. So I don't have, any, issues with saying that you will be able to get, if nothing else, a snapshot of where it's at. And as I presented before, was saying that you will have that information in general, but it will be unaudited numbers. And as we continue to close out, because you are aware, once you close one, fiscal year, you're either carrying over a surplus or a deficit, and that's how you drive the next one. So we can't get you factual numbers for 24 if we were still open from 22 to 23. So we are on that path. So you're closed with that. So now we can move forward. And as those processes are being built in the meantime, so whoever comes behind your contractual staff, they can continue to move forward. So as we catch one deficit that is not just claimed, but then you're actually then writing a process so that coming forward that and I think out of this chaos, for lack of a better word, I think it has made the front office staff stronger for it, because I think that they become cross-trained around learning new tasks. And Carly can tell me that's not so. If it's not, I don't want to misrepresent anything or overstate, but I think that they have strategic course to learn new tasks, to do things, to pitch in. So I think it's just overall good for the process in general. And then you have to understand that when your initial contractual staff came on board, they had to get to know the system. And that if they didn't have internal to help with the system, you have to wait on somebody else's time, right? Because I have to get off of work, Adam has to get off of work, Ashley and John has to get off of work, and then come in. So, it is not that we are sitting idle doing nothing.
Well, again, I just want to make sure the information gets to us, no matter what the information is, and that's what, therefore, we can then, not make assumptions, but try to look at maybe some issues or some items that you guys may have missed, or at least have questions for, and we're looking at people's mind. I'm going to ask that any other personnel have any questions?
Ron, you mentioned that you wanted to do an update on, staff, is that what you said?
Yeah, so I can be very brief, just to. So, first of all, I went through the interview process, we went through about 32 people. When it came time for them to sign their letters, they decided to do something else. Since then, I've gone through reposting positions for the finance director and the operations manager again, as well as the HR director. Right now, we have 27 applications to go through, to lead through to set up interviews for those two positions. I can't tell you what 27, which is what someone applied for both, and right about 46 applications for human resources. So, hopefully by the time we come back around next month, we will have gotten through the interviews hopefully next week, and then hopefully get to someone or to a couple people to fill positions.
Next question, it seems as though every time you talk about hiring someone, they get to a certain point, it looks like they're gonna accept, then they back out, they don't do it. And I don't know if it's money always the biggest issue, or is there something else going on? You don't have a number 2 person to make an offer to, if the number 1 person does not accept the position?
Right, so with this last group of people we went through, one person decided not to because he didn't want to pay for his gas to drive further. We don't pay employees gas unless they're department heads or they have village-assigned vehicles. The second person decided that he was working in another capacity that he didn't tell us about, and he felt that there may be the possibility of embarrassment on this side or the other side. At the same time, when we look at what we're
for the allotted amount. Approved amount, and I looked online, because I knew a person that was available and could come in and need help with accounts payable, but $19 an hour, it's not gonna happen.
No.
So is it something that maybe the board should reconsider, because asking someone to come in with a professional skill set for $19 an hour for the kind of work that's going to be required here is almost impossible.
Right. Even to get, to your point, you can get clerks coming in from a part-time agency who quoted $45 to $50 an hour.
Right.
Because
Because an
we can also
agency,
take a look at, how does that impact the morale of the full-time employees we have sitting here that are working diligently every day, hard, and have been here for years, to now bring somebody in and paying them more, you're going to hold yourself with other issues. So I think we've got to look at it in totality in terms of, is the board going to be willing to address those salaries, want to address those salaries of those positions, and the board doesn't have to address anybody else's salary. Now, if you address that salary, you get other salaries that come into play as well.
I mean, it happens with every organization. I know with, if you have a temp service, you're paying $14 an hour to the temp and to the service. But at the same time, the work would be getting done. The stuff that we're paying somebody else $8 an hour to look for, the data, and that doesn't make sense. And so you do need to have a lower wage person to find the data. This is what I do for them. I have to have 14 people. I don't scan that. They can do it at a faster pace, they can do it at a faster pace. This is their job. And so you need somebody that's, the higher level people that are going to come in here, you should be asking them to post payments. I see the trust.
I agree.
And, they're collecting monies now, which, when you talk about handling money, I'm sure all these people are very honest and this, that, and the other, but usually, when you handle money, it's not in a systematic way. Everybody does it the same way. You should be posting payments, you should be depositing the money, but now you have a lot of different people handling money. Good idea.
But I think the system that Carolyn has in place is, and Carolyn, correct me if I'm wrong, we haven't had one issue since, the trustees were coming to know.
That's commendable. I appreciate that, because at one time, I'm not going to go over it, but I experienced a couple of years ago with staff that was here. But this is a big boy and girl job, and I think that the board needs to really consider how much money you're allowing for this particular process. And in order to bring in the skill set you need, you're going to need more money than to assume, because right now, you're just plugging holes, and there's another hole developing. We're at the end of 23-24.
Believe me, I understand what you're saying.
And I personally, in an organization that they started in March asking for month-end information, preparing for 2024. Our year is in June, and we will be finishing in August.
Right.
I know a lot of municipalities, suburban municipalities are behind, but this is pretty bad. And I know
It's not budget.
what we're doing and all of that, but it's not getting any better because we don't have the personnel, one process in place. I don't see improvement. I don't see the plans. I don't see where we're actually moving forward. I just see it's getting money. That's what I see. But I do look at what is online. We're spending money, we're improving it, but you have no budget. You don't know what you're spending on. You don't know where it's coming from. We're gonna get it out of the corporate fund. We don't even know it's in the corporate fund.
So, and I can understand what you're saying, but I can't sit here and not tell you the stress that the employees here are going through. And it would be much easier on everyone here if we had the staff to break up some of that work to fill the vacancies. But until we're able to fill those vacancies, or until the board decides to make another decision, this is what we're left with. These ladies that are working in this little hall are coming in Carolyn sometimes going to 8 o'clock in the morning. They're here past 5 o'clock. I mean, when you see how much they're doing right now with the stickers, and that's in addition to the help of the trustees coming in, they have still got phones that are ringing, voicemails that are getting full. And when you get to those voicemails, it's usually after 4:30, 5 o'clock because of the lines that are going out the door. Now you have a caller that is basically, I have one employee tell me today, this cussing these employees out. I mean, in no way, shape, or form can I say is sitting on their hands.
I never said that.
I mean, we keep,
we need help.
right, but.
We need help, we need people in the seats to do the work.
Exactly.
We've been talking about this for a long time. You're gonna have to have people in the seats to do the work. And the people who are working here, you compensate them with how we're gonna compensate them. But you need seats and you need people to get this done. And you should have, trustees coming in and handling money. But, if I know this what you're doing, and I know Carolyn, there's a reason why she's there. I'm not trying to say anybody's not doing the work. I'm just saying that we gotta get people in here, whether it's temporary staff or whatever. Look, it's paying $80 an hour to pull invoices. This doesn't make sense.
Look, Ms. Blunt, I just want to clarify, just for the record, although being a consultant or a temporary staff, you do have staff in the seat. But you do have staff in the seat. Yes, it requires to have a permanent staff. And as we all know, that you can't always throw money at it, that we have to live within our budget constraints. So that is a part of this department of looking at what those salaries would look like and what that would look like and have it in there. But you also have to understand, if you're recruiting the cream of the crop to come in to do that, it will be very difficult, right? You have to look at the culture, and that takes time to change. But it would be very difficult if you came in and the process wasn't in place. And so I think that we're making it better for when there is a permanent person in that seat. You're not setting that person up for failure because that individual is coming in and having to do filing from 2022, having to try to catch up an audit. So the fact that contractual, staff has chipped away and is closer to the end than you were 18 months ago. I think that certainly it is frustrating not having a finance director for 2 years. Certainly it's frustrating and not being able to have a balance statement in or just being able to keep the doors open and keep the lights on. But there are processes in place that have not been in place. There are checks and balances that have not been in place. And so I think it's important to continue, the dialogue and to ask for the information. And I, can say that asking for that information that, like I said, information that I'm able to feel to be able to give that information as a part of my training capacity. I don't have any problem with that. I've always said I have no problem with being called under the carpet, being called under the carpet, or being accountable. I think self-accountability is important. And it has been a long process, and we have made a lot of progress. And you will see those intimate things, but this did not happen overnight. And so it's not going to correct itself.
I just say, before we leave, just like process clarification. So as of this moment, Brian, you will be sending us information, financial information on a monthly basis, average basis. What can we expect once we give this money?
Based on what I get in reports from the treasurer and from Adam, that will then be based on what I'm able to send you.
I'm not even going to respond.
No, please, I want you, I'd like you to respond. Because, they are the ones that are putting the reports together. So I'm not going to sit and say I want to send you something until they have put the reports together.
So, when you go to the government, you sign checks or paying people or vendors or whatever is going on, and you have some idea of what kind of money you're spending or what kind of money you send out. You don't need a report for that, right?
No, I go by the bank balances.
You go by the bank balance. So, and you get a bank balance, what, every month?
I can get a bank balance daily.
Daily, okay. So, when you get those bank balances, who's balancing them out at the end of the month? You know, when they accrue or don't. So you get a statement. You know what you spent, but you don't. Once you get that statement, you either overspent or underspent total. Your total dollar line.
Right.
And then the next payment group, you can't reduce it. You don't need to pay someone. So that means we're going to get the deficit is going to continue to grow. But my point is that you're getting information that I'm hoping that you can, share with us. Whether it's a report or not, you get something.
Right. So just like I send the bank balances to the board, I can provide the bank balances to you all. And if that, helps you to, to understand some things better,
Am I?
then that will,
Am I? Because
you see the bank balances, and then as you see the report that goes to the board for the checks that they authorize, that will kind of let you know how those accounts, if we have right about 18 or 19 accounts, that those checks are written on. So once you see the bank balance, you then have to correlate that with the funds that it's coming from. So that's not a problem.
Okay, good. I mean, because you know what, honestly, we're not trying to put anybody on the spot or anyone defensive or anything like that. All we want to be able to do is help make the village better by looking at items that we can put our 2 cents on, and whether the trustees can agree upon them or not, but we should have another eye, looking at things and things are being circumvented. I see it, but it's just like it just flows over us, and we're not supposed to say anything.
Right.
Things are circumvented, so all we want to do is really work with you, work with the village,
Right.
look at the finances, and really stabilize it and make the bills better. We don't want the bills to go down. We don't want you going to jail like Disney. We don't want you
I don't even think that's an accurate
so we want
comment.
to stay on top of what's going on, so it won't get to that bottom line.
Right, but that's the reason why Carolyn, once the agenda's approved, she puts the packet out there. And so, it's not a problem.
Okay.
That information is out there, and Carolyn, correct me if I'm wrong. Once you send the packet out to the board, that goes on the website. I think there's times that we have to go out and people have to go obtain the information that's out there, dispatches. That entire report that I just said I could give you has been out there for every board meeting. The second board meeting is usually when we send the bank balances. That's just once a month.
See, I don't know what the board is. I don't know what the trustee is. All I know is what we get, and I don't think we should have to go and search for it on the website when you send it to us.
Okay.
Any additional questions? Brian, is there anything that you want to update us on information that you got?
No. No.
For the record, also reflect that now that we have 6 members, 3 of us that are here, I'm going to end this with any questions from the public. How are you, Mr. Moore?
Good evening. Good evening, fellow residents, village administrator, the treasurer. Me, I'm Moore. You know, it's on. It's my soft voice that doesn't. Now, as a resident, I understand in terms of the committee, in terms of receiving financial information, so we can talk to the board. But I get every packet, every agenda that comes out in an account. I take a look at all of that stuff. And the thing that concerns me in terms of the board deserves the input of all of you guys in terms of making these decisions. And my observation is that the board is making decisions without the benefit, significant financial decisions, without the benefit of the finance committee's analysis. Because we have a budget, obviously, and if we get new expenditures, not the daily basis, but if we get new expenditures, it used to be is that if it comes to finance, we go to the board. Because I think that the process is that the finance committee goes to board. That kind of decision is the process. And when I was still in the business, the treasurer was on the finance committee. So it's not a standalone. I understand that there are some difficult issues because we're not here. commissions or whatever, it comes from the finance committee. So I see your role is very responsible. So I would say keep pressing for the information. I'm sure the budget director, Ryan, he's on it, I'm responsible. But at the same time, we got operating departments that are at the door trying to spend money, and that money then has to be approved by the board. And so lately, what I've been observing, I look at every meeting, I look at all the minutes that come out, there are a lot of day-to-day decisions being made out the benefit of the analysis that is necessary to make sure that not only can we fund it, but how does that impact the decisions that already are in the pot. Okay? And so that's my comment. I don't envy you, and I certainly, if there's anything that I can do in terms of offering any assistance or information, don't hesitate to give me a call. I'm an accountant. All my life I've been an accountant, and I track all of this stuff because it's important to me as a citizen, as a resident, just in terms of just how we do our business. And so I offer that, and I thought, and I have a question for the treasurer, because the treasurer used to have to set up here as well. Also, Mr. Mitchell is a part of the finance committee process. We used to have these meetings where we were all on the same page, and so when Mr. Mitchell had to present it to the board, not only did we have his perspective, we had the treasurer's perspective, and we had your perspective as well. So I hope we can get back to that at some point so that we don't have to sit up here and wonder whether or not we're making right financial decisions in terms of these ad hoc issues that come to us.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mr. Moore, we have a vacancy for us.
$19 an hour.
Anyone else have any comments, questions? Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Our next committee meeting will be March 16th. Oh, sorry. May 16th. At 6 p.m. And Brian, I will get with you and be very specific as to what I'm on the agenda as well. With that,
You got me on your email communication regarding this, that information that you so that if there's anything that I can do to assist, making sure that you have that information.
perfect. Thank you. If there's no other comments, questions, or concerns, I'd like to end this committee meeting at this time. It